And hello, everyone. We are here at Fly Boys in Beaver Creek for another edition of the Katrina Merriweather Show. The Wright State women's basketball team coming off a win yesterday. They're 5-3 on the season. And Coach Merriweather, 61-55 was the win over Kent State. Your team, as I mentioned, 5-3. But I want to say this at the outset also. Fans may not know, earlier today, the Horizon League honoring one of your players, the Freshman of the Week, and the Horizon League Women's Player of the Week, Angel Baker. Congratulations to her. She's really coming on.
She is. We knew the whole time that she was pretty special. And she had a couple games there where I feel like she busted out early. First two games were awesome. And then I think people noticed that she was on the team. And so they guarded her a little tougher, and I think she struggled a little bit. And we also played some really good teams. We played Michigan State, played Belmont, and now I think she's found her feet again, so we're excited. She's
starting to feel a little more comfortable because you hear freshmen, doesn't matter how great they are in high school, and everybody who comes to this level, they were very good in high school, and she is no exception, an outstanding player, as you told us. But they talk about the speed of the game, the physicality, not to mention you have to adjust to college life, all those type of things. And, even by now, that's got to be encouraging to you and your staff that she's, starting to get it there as a freshman.
I'll tell you, and a lot of people didn't recruit Angel, and what a mistake that was. And she didn't have a 3.5, but to me she had good enough grades, and we knew the environment we had would be really good. There's some things about her past that have been a little rough, and I think that a lot of people were turned off from her. And if you just take the time to get to know the kid, you see how awesome she is, and none of that stuff will really bother you any. And she's just doing a great job just transitioning in all those areas.
Well, something you stressed since the loss to Michigan State is defense. And you look at the last 4 games in which your team has put together 4 consecutive wins. Hofstra, 44 points, 64 against Stetson. Marist allowed just 60 and 55 in the Kent State game. You're seeing more consistency on the defensive end of the floor?
Well, I think that what they've decided is that it's important. One of the comments that the staff has really been emphasizing for them is you don't get to decide what's important. We tell you what's important, and then you're supposed to act accordingly because they think that points are important and shooting's important, and we think that defense and rebounding is important. And so when they decided to listen to us, I think that was a big change for us.
Coach, you say every year the personality of a team changes a little bit, and not only the players but the coaches too, have to adapt and kind of get a feel of what the rotations are, what kind of players and what you expect out of them. And something you talked about a few weeks ago was the fact that, okay, we're going to shoot threes, we're going to shoot quick, we're going to do that, but you're just hoping a few more go in. The team's just not being able to make those 3-point baskets yet.
We have now won 2 games against 2 good teams and made 1 3-pointer.
That's amazing.
It'll just drive you nuts. You would think that we didn't shoot in practice. You would think that the kids didn't get in the gym extra. They do that too. And again, I think it's sometimes the ball goes in, sometimes it doesn't. And what's important to us is that we just are tough and we fight and we rebound and we defend and we find a way to win no matter if shots are going in or not.
It's not going to change the philosophy either. They just got to
all.
Keep shooting if they have an open shot.
Absolutely. I mean, Mackenzie Taylor will tell you she's in a slump, and I'm telling you she's still shooting 36% from 3. It's not a slump. Mikhail Miller's a really good 3-point shooter, so is Emily Vogelbull. So I don't care that Emily went 0 for 6 in the game. I don't want her to stop shooting the ball, and I think that when they know that we have that amount of confidence in them, it'll keep theirs up, and they'll start falling, But in the meantime, we need to rebound the ball.
All right, Coach, we have highlights from yesterday's game against Kent State. We're going to go ahead and show those to the people who have joined us here at Fly Boys in Beaver Creek. And for those on radio, we'll help to explain to you exactly what we're seeing here. And go ahead, let's put them up on the screen right now, Greg.
That's Mikhail in the first possession of the game with that pull-up jump shot. And, again, she's a very talented offensive scorer. And Imani Partlow is coming on strong for us in the post. That's her laying it in right there.
Emily Vogelpohl, you're talking about having to do some of the things that, a lot of players, may not do, and she's able to step up. She had double-digit rebounds in the game.
She does. And because when I look at her and I say, without Deja Evans, Simone Simmons and her are playing our 4, and they're both 5'8", and there's Simone driving to the basket, finishing there. And Emily, I've always said this about her, will do whatever it takes to win. And if I tell her that she's got to do something, she says okay, and she goes and she does it.
Well, a lot of these highlights, obviously, mid-range jump shots and also drives to the bucket because they weren't successful hitting a lot of threes. But, it's kind of good to see that they can take the ball to the basket.
I'm telling you, this is a powerful offensive scoring team. If we can just figure out how to play together, and I think they've gotten better as the season has gone on because there's Emily running right in front of Angel there shooting that layup. And again, 5 games from now, that won't happen. You know, they'll learn each other's spacing. Mikael Miller.
It was good spacing on that set.
Yeah, pull up, jump shot in the middle. We've got a great mid-range team. And there's our only 3, Emily Vogelpohl. We were happy that one went down.
And you'll always like to run when we get opportunities.
Absolutely. Again, we're athletic, we're quick, scrappy on defense. And again, when they buy into it, I think it just works wonders for us. And I do think it helps us offensively, too, when they hunker down and guard.
And what about rebounding overall? Obviously, it's not just 1 or 2 people you rely on. This is something where all 5 on the floor, have to be able to contribute.
Anybody who comes to the game can hear me screaming, all 5 people got to rebound on defense. But for me, it is like we need that. We're not overly big. Again, when we keep saying we have a 5'8" 4 players, like you got to have some heart, and it's got to be important to you. And when Simone Simmons is doing what she's doing, which is getting double-digit rebounds, I think people see that it's possible. Like you just got to try.
Well, you get that rebound real quick too, and it's something I know you practice on all the time. Is getting that outlet pass and getting some easy buckets on the other end.
Absolutely. And again, towards the end of the game is what Kent State did. They did a lot of subbing after free throws so that we couldn't get it out of bounds and push it really quick. And again, that's what people are going to do to us. Green Bay did it to us a year ago, where they knocked every rebound out of bounds just so we couldn't get it and run. And I think people have a lot of respect for our ability to transition, but we still have to figure out how to make sure we do it every game.
We talked about the exploits of Angel Baker, but also in yesterday's game, you and the coaches get a chance to look at the video after the game. What were some of the good positives you saw out of that game?
Obviously, Angel's production at 24 points in 25 minutes is nice. I think Mackenzie Taylor's ability to focus when she's 0 for 9 shooting and to knock down some very key free throws to provide some leadership out there. You see her, she's the one who's pulling them together and huddling. Simone Simmons being a little tired but still saying, hey, I'm here. I'm going to rebound and do everything. We got some kids that are playing banged up. Tyler didn't have full extension in her left leg. Emily's playing with some plantar fasciitis. Mikael Miller is a walking injury. We just got some stuff. Angel Baker's wrist is sore. And like I tell him, nobody cares but us. Kent State doesn't care.
Right.
Manhattan and Drexel don't care. You just got to be able to tough it out.
How are you able to? You tell them that, but how can you get it to soak into them? Because, you have this opportunity for 4 years to play at the Division I college basketball level. You're going to have some, nicks, cuts, and, some bruises here and there and not feel good to get themselves prepared mentally before it begins. It's more of a mental game, is it, more than physical?
Absolutely. Well, because they've got 5 coaches that did it, so suck it up. We've all done it, and it's not easy. If it was easy, then anybody would just come do it, and that's not what it is. And if you value what your opportunity here is at Wright State, and you are proud of what's written across your chest, and nothing matters more than getting out there and giving it everything you have. And then when you're tired, your teammates have your back. We'll sub you out, and we'll just keep rolling the best we can.
And that's why it's a team effort. You talk about, not just the team itself and coaches, but also, with the athletic training staff. And, we have a really good one here at Wright State. So a story on Cole Pittsford just a few days ago from the university, and what he's able to do and be able to bring along with his staff, to help, you and your student athletes.
You can't do anything without your support staff. And of course, everyone knows that it starts with the administration, and I talk about Bob Green all the time, and this not being a win-at-all-cost place, and the support that we're giving and caring about our kids is people first, students second, and athletes third. It's not just something that we're taught to say or that we memorize. It's the truth, and I think that that's why our kids will run through a wall for us, is because they know that we care about them as people first. And we try to take care of that, because if we do, then the basketball part gets a little easier.
This might be a little bit more inside basketball, but when you talk about players, you hear coaches say they're going to be a game-time decision. Obviously, that's true. You just don't know. You have to go and you have to trust, the athletic training staff about, okay, what's this person, am I able to play them here tonight? What goes into that decision before you allow a person to play?
A lot, and we're very fortunate, again, to have the strength and conditioning coaches, Patrick for us, and Cole as well oversees him, and Megan Watson, and academically even, and Emily, who does our training, Rob, you name it, our entire support staff has something to do with those decisions, because it just unfortunately unravels for them when one section isn't going well. And luckily we have really good people. But the kid starts it. You know, like the kids got to want to play. You know, they have to
right.
say, hey, I don't feel great, but this is important to me. I know that I'm valuable to this team, and I'm going to step up and play no matter how I feel. And then, of course, you have a positive and encouraging environment, and they know that they're valued. I think that helps a lot,
Is
too.
this something that you as a head coach, you know, talk to that individual first, or just they maybe go to an assistant and they talk to you about it before you make a decision?
It depends. I think everybody knows that I'm pretty hands-on in recruiting, so I have a pretty good relationship with all of our kids. And because of the transition from assistant to head coach, my relationship with a lot of them is really strong. So sometimes they'll come tell me first, but again, I'm blessed to have a great staff where they trust them too, and they do their best to not bother Trina, as they say. And I don't mind it, but it is nice that they have, again, people who really care, our training staff and strength and conditioning people and my assistant coaches that are there for them to support them. And by the time I get to it, you know, they've pretty much already said, I want to play. It doesn't really matter. I just want to play.
Well, your team's now 4-0. You're 5-3 when we come back. You've been to places like Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and now New York is coming up next. We'll talk about that next site coming up and who you'll be playing when we return to Fly Boys in Beaver Creek. It's the Katrina Merriweather Show. We're talking about Wright State women's basketball.
Hi, I'm Bob Grody, class of 1976 and former Raiders player and coach. Did you know that once you're a Wright State grad, you're automatically a member of the Alumni Association? As a member, tap into the Wright State Network, attend a local alumni event, and earn discounts and special offers. Log on to wrightstatealumni.com and make the most of your membership. Thank you, and go Raiders.
And welcome back. Appreciate you being here tonight at Fly Boys. We'll be back again next week with the Katrina Merriweather Show and also the Scott Nagy Show. Again, back-to-back next week right here in Beaver Creek. Hey, if you're watching us tonight on the stream, listening, by all means, come out here and join us. A beautiful location out here in Beaver Creek by the Mall of Fairfield Commons. Come on out. We're here all year long throughout the basketball season. Coach Merriweather, before we went to break, we were talking about your schedule. And, boy, this really has to help when you go out and recruit. You've been to Los Angeles. You've also been to Las Vegas. And now upcoming games with Drexel and Manhattan and the Manhattan tournament in New York City.
It's pretty exciting. And one reason we went out to California was I promised Tyler when we were recruiting her that we would get her back home. And we were welcomed with open arms. We practiced at her high school. Her high school coach got the whole program together, and they did a little barbecue for her. Her family's amazing. So they then drove to Bakersfield and drove to UNLV and came to the game. And it was just really important that we got a chance to do that for her.
All right, now you're going to New York City to take on Manhattan and Drexel. Manhattan 1-5, Drexel at 5-1. Good competition. You played Drexel first in that series.
Yeah, Drexel is, again, lately here, in the last couple of years, been contenders in their league, and we really tried to put together a schedule where we could play the top 3 or 4 teams in the conference for RPI reasons and also for competitiveness because our league has gotten so much better, and people have heard me say it, I'm sure, multiple times. We finished 10th in the country in terms of our league, and you just can't have a soft schedule and then expect to go in there and have a chance to win.
You know, getting back again to recruiting, you know, you talked about, you know, getting a player back to home again out in the Los Angeles area, and then you went to Vegas also so they could watch your play. But New York City, you've been to Nashville. I mean, before a season starts, do you go looking? There's a lot of tournaments out there and a lot of neutral sites to go to. You look at all of these and you see what best fits, you know, your group?
Absolutely. And I'd said it a couple times that we were going to have to push through some things in the beginning because even though we have Mac, Emily and Simone, they're the only kids on the team that have played significant minutes at Wright State. So you have to be kind of careful about who you played and making sure spears don't get broken in the beginning, but at the same time challenging them. In the same token, I'll tell you that they know that they're really talented, so we needed to play some tough games so we weren't walking around thinking we were better than we were. So, yeah, you're right. Take a look at the location. We take a look at the cost of the tournament, obviously, and the opponents that are in it and how easy it is. I don't like to fly, so there has to be direct flights to wherever we go. I had the worst traveling luck. I don't remember ever hardly going anywhere with a connection to me getting there with my bag. So we don't want that. So all those things kind of factor into it.
You know, you talk about, you know, going to tournaments and whatever and going outside of the country is a little more difficult now. than it used to be. I had a situation. We went down to Cancun. I had a little problem getting my radio equipment into the country. So, needless to say, I had to brush up on my Spanish and be very patient.
Oh, I can only
because
imagine.
of the military personnel that were waiting there, just looking at me patiently. So I just kind of kept my cool, and were able to get through it. But it cost us a little bit, but we were able to take care of it. But then again, that's all part of it. It's travel. It's a lot of things you have to look for. You have to be aware of before you get involved in it.
It is, but I do think that what we do too, anybody who's seen our team, they have a lot of personality. It's kind of nice to sequester them a little bit in a hotel room before the night before we play. And I was really happy we were able to come back home and play well after the way we showed at Belmont. And play well is probably an overstatement. Let's just say I'm happy we got a chance to win in front of our fans that come out and support us and are there. But yeah, being on the road has its pros and cons for sure.
You talk about the personality of this team. I came back with the men's team from Indiana State on Saturday, and got back around 8 o'clock and go inside the Setzer Pavilion, and there, lo and behold, got a couple players in there shooting, on their own, trying to make themselves better.
And that's the stuff that you can't ever complain about a team that says, hey, I want to be good individually because I know that it'll help our team be successful in the long run. And I think that's what we have. It's really easy at this point when I tell you about all these injuries, and heaven forbid I leave out Mackenzie Taylor.
Yeah.
With this chronic back injury that she has, but nonetheless you'll see them still bettering themselves, and I think it's just their commitment, and they want to do something special, and they know how much work it takes to do that.
Yeah, and that's why you and your staff care so much about these student athletes, because of the commitment that they make, not only from being a basketball player, but also the commitment they make because of their time management, also in the classroom.
Yeah, and again, we are. I like to think that we're empathetic. However, we don't accept excuses, and we still push them to do the best that they can, mainly because, again, they've got 5 examples of it, of people who made it 4 years through school, and all of our journeys were different, and we all played at different levels, and we all had different roles when we played. So really, there isn't anyone that the 14 kids we have can't relate to on our staff, and I think that really helps too. But I think they're just committed to being the best they can be, and that's what helps a lot.
I could be Captain Obvious right here, but with a 4-game winning streak, you can see people even become even more committed, because winning, breeds that type of attitude, and you really like that, especially now heading off to a neutral court again.
No, you're right, because I'm telling you, when we were sitting 1-3, I got my freshmen looking at me and our JUCO kid, Mikhail, and they're like, hey, you recruited me here because you said you won championships. Like, what's the problem? Well, and then you have to turn around and say, well, you're kind of the problem, turning the ball over, not making enough shots, and not being aggressive offensively. And I do think that we've turned that corner, and I do think that we will be more aggressive, and I think that we value the ball a little better, and that we're rebounding a lot better too.
Taylor Baker, Miller, they're averaging in double figures. You have another player, Emily Vogelpole, who's doing a lot of the other things too, and averaging just under double figures at 9 points per game. You and the staff obviously like to see that balance.
And I think we knew that was going to happen too, because again, when you got Mac, who had this breakout game, 2 in a row actually, Michigan State and then Hofstra, that then the defense is going to focus on her. Well, she's still also a 5'6" perimeter player. It's not like you can move her around a lot and go post her up or go, do things differently to get her a shot. So when people focus on her, it makes her tougher to score. So that's when you need Angel Baker, Emily Vogelpool, Simone Simmons, and Mikhail Miller to step up. And I think that our 5 spot by committee with Tyler and Imani and Tanisha are doing their job as well. So it literally is a group effort.
It's a game of adjustments, for coaches against other team schemes, but also, adjusting to your type of players and how they're playing at that time.
Absolutely. We got a freshman that comes off the bench that everybody screams, shooter, shooter, and whether she gets a chance to get it off or not, and Nyjah Harris, she draws the attention. Well, it opens up the lane for someone to drive it. So we're really fortunate that we've got kids right now that are invested and talented enough that no matter who I put in the game, I feel like we can get something out of them.
All right, Coach, we'll take our final break. We'll be back with more here at the Katrina Merriweather Show. Made a mistake. She will not be here next week. She is traveling, obviously, so they'll be back in a few more weeks. If you need to go ahead and take a look at the list of when the shows will be here at Flyboys in Beaver Creek, by all means, go to the website at WSURaiders.com. Have a list of all the men's and women's show times and dates right there. We'll be back with more of the Katrina Merriweather Show when we return to Flyboys in Beaver Creek after these messages.
What does it mean to be a pioneer, reaching your full potential? It means being bold. No, bigger than bold, monumental. Where would we be if we ceased at the first "you can't do that"? How would we advance if we stopped in our tracks every time we heard "hey you, move back"? We develop thick skin when opposition wishes we'd stay soft. Against resistance, our persistence will pay off. At Wright State, our goal remains central. We are the pioneers of potential.
And welcome back. We are here. Katrina Merriweather talking about her women's team, now 5-3, coming off a win 61-55 over Kent State at the Wright State University Nutter Center yesterday. Thanks for everybody coming out here tonight. Coach Scott Nagy will be here in just a few moments, so we'll be here from 6 till 7 talking Wright State basketball. Two players that will be joining us later on, the Wisconsin connection. Yes, Bill Wampler from Wisconsin, and also Grant Basili will be here joining us between 6:30 and 7 o'clock. You know, Coach, we talk about the X's and O's. We talk about your team, the players, and whatever. You know, it's also a good time. The fans like to know a little bit more, you know, about you. You know, and one question came to mind to me is, you know, every kid growing up who loves the game and plays, you know, has somebody they look up to. You know, one player that, you know, is that model that you like to be like. Did you have any of those when you were coming up?
Well, when I first started playing, the WNBA started in '97 when I graduated from high school. So growing up, there really wasn't anyone besides your local people. So it was always my dad's youth mentoring organization had some of the best players in the city. And so it was always those people, you know, the Kizzy Dawsons, no names that you would recognize or remember, but those were our heroes. There wasn't a lot of media, you know, so you only knew kind of the people in the area. So definitely the people who came through the program that are my mentors to this day or who I looked up to. But because my grandfather was an agent, so I was going to dinners at 7, 8 years old with Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, and Sean Kemp, and those people.
What was that like?
Oh, it was great. When you look back on it, I had no idea who they were when I was that young. But it's pretty awesome. But so in high school, when they asked me who my favorite person was or player was, it was Charles Barkley. Oh, yeah, loved him because he was thick, he was strong, he was rebounding, like he was that kind of guy. And believe it or not, at 5'8", I was a 4 player.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of why I give Emily and Simone that responsibility. I'm like, you can do it, figure it out. It's fine. Like, you can rebound, you can drive, you can be tough. So definitely that's how it was for me. I can't say that I remember anybody even playing on TV. Now, you knew you had the Latex and obviously Tennessee, like at the time, you had people that everybody knew, but we weren't watching TV and it wasn't on ESPN and that sort of thing. So it was always the local people and honestly the NBA players that I was kind of exposed to growing up because my dad was like the babysitter. So
did you watch some of Charles Barkley's games when you had an opportunity?
Absolutely. When he played for the Phoenix Suns, my grandfather was the agent of a guy named William Bedford, who you would also probably not know. He was in the league for about 7 years. I call him Uncle Bill. And more importantly, George Gervin was who
the Iceman.
That's my I call him Uncle George. That's my dad's brother type because my grandfather was such a mentor for him. So like those people. I remember going to watch Charles Barkley play because William was on the Phoenix Suns team and I got autographed books from them in San Antonio. So when Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So I've got pictures with all those guys.
You're dropping some name on it here tonight, ain't it?
Yeah, I was only 12 or 13 though.
But you remember those times.
I do.
Wasn't it Charles Barkley though who said, you know, something about role models were not role models for people? What do you think of that?
I had no idea that that's who I was looking up to, that's for sure. He says some stuff sometimes, and I do understand what he means. Sometimes you want to play basketball and just be a regular or normal person, but the reality is what comes with that notoriety is responsibility. And that's why we do so much community service. That's why we do so many things with our team, because like it or not, people are watching you, and you are responsible to represent yourself, the university, the program a certain way.
Well, all that information that you were able to soak up, you know, you had an opportunity to, you know, to be around these people, be around the agents, you know, of course, you know, your dad obviously is, you know, big part of your life. You know, obviously that's helped you become, you know, a head coach, and also your other head coaches that you had worked for before. You're still in contact with Coach Bradbury.
Absolutely. What it does for me is it just developed a lot of compassion. You realize that so many people have stories and so many things that they've overcome and that they've worked through. And I definitely talked to Mike, talked to Keith, and again, both their teams are doing really well, so that's always nice. But I mean, those guys I'll always talk to them, always call them. Man, they taught me so much in the time that I spent with them there's no way I would let them out my network.
Now, it might be a tough question, but what's the best piece of advice that you have received to help you as far as a head coach?
Oh man, I always call Mike and tell him, you didn't tell me this. So I don't know. I always tease him about he left out a lot of stuff.
Is it more from from the standpoint of X's and O's, or just how you deal with different situations, or what?
Not at all.
Okay,
Not
I
at
didn't
all.
think so.
Again, anybody, and I will say that it has a lot to do with the way we recruit too, because I am a second chance coach, so I have second chance players. So sometimes we deal with things away from the court where there's a lot of growth and development, where it's not just about X's and O's. So no, the best thing that Mike Bradbury ever taught me was, when you make a decision, you make it. You never look back. You never question it. You never regret it, because you can't change it. So all you can do is just move forward. And it's the best thing he's ever said to me that I can use basketball and in life. And I absolutely will never forget it.
Well, I think recently you said, win pretty, win ugly, it doesn't matter as long as it's a win.
Hey, it doesn't. It doesn't. Again, 1-3 or 22 turnovers. And sometimes we turn that ball over. And we're a program that's averaged 12 for like the last 8 years. And here comes this team. They just throw that thing all over the place. Hopefully that'll continue to get better.
Well, on a 4-game winning streak, we're out of time, Coach. Thank you very much, and best of luck, and you head to New York. I'm sure it'll be a safe flight. You
Thank
guys
you.
will get there, and hope you come back with 2 wins.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everybody.
much. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll be talking Wright State men's basketball with the head coach, Scott Nagy. Stay with us at Fly Boys here in Beaver Creek. We'll be back after these messages.